My name is Flo Jitu, and I'm ready to present to you oral interview presentation. My interview partner is called Chamaka Bika Ibrahim. Amaka is a nursing student from Nigeria and currently live in the United States of America. Well, the two topics that I choose are language, verbal communication and culture, listening and barrier to listening. In this presentation, I will cover the introduction, the body, and the conclusion in the interview in that order. Before I proceed, there are questions that I need to ask. The question one is, what is my interview partner nationality? How many years she has been living in United States? How many languages are there in her culture? How many languages does she speak? How will she define culture? And what is her culture famous for? The question 7 is, what common non-verbal cure go along with verbal communication in her culture? According to her perspective, what constitutes a good listening? According to her perspective, what constitutes a poor bad listening? And the question 10 is, according to her culture perspective, what are the two barriers to listening well? Okay. Based on my interview partner background, it is evident that I focus on the Nigeria culture group from Africa, and the preview of the paper is as allow. Is as follow. How language affect communication? Significance of effective verbal communication. The role that Nigeria culture play in effective communication. Importance and good listening. And finally, how to minimize barrier to listening. Yeah. The two interpersonal communication concepts that I choose are language, verbal communication, culture, and listening and barrier to listening. They are applied to communication in my interview culture in various ways. For instance, in Nigeria, there are more than 50 languages, the same like my country, many languages in Africa. Wherever you go in Africa, there is a lot of language wherever you go. It is very important to understand more than two languages to be able to communicate effectively with other people in Nigeria. During the interview, I discovered that there exists a culture difference and similar related to communication that I uncovered in the interview with my partner. For instance, I am from Cameroon and my interview partner is from Nigeria. In both of our cultural background, I learned that men tend to more assertive in the communication than a woman, and that is true. You know, in Africa, man is a king, like they always say. When he says something, sometimes you don't need to say a word. You know, you just need to sit down and listen to what he said. Yeah. Also, there are certain verbal communication vocabulary that cannot be used by children but can be used by male or female adult based on the meaning and when children are found using such words in the communication is considered like indiscipline. Yes, you know, like to my country back home in Cameroon, you know, they say when big people talk, you can't talk anymore. That means when the elders people are talking or say something, you cannot say a word. And there's some word big people use, all the eldest people use, you cannot, children cannot use. And when you use those words, trust me, they're gonna be punish you until you stop saying those words. That is the way you work in Africa. My impression and observation of the interview is positive. It was well performed based on the response to the question that were asked and answered. I learned that culture I learned that culture shape the way people communicate across the society and globally. Yeah. During our interview, there was at least one relevant and personal communication skill that I use that enhanced my multicultural understanding. Sorry for my English. I'm not too good English, but I'm trying. My first language is French. That's why. The interpersonal skill that I use in the aspect of meditating of on the fact that I need to be in position of the speaker in order to understand them. This is including asking questions that help me understand the interview so that I do not make assumption that end or jeopardize our communication. Also, when I'm speaking, I had to make sure that my words are audited because I do not make my word auditable. Then my interview will not get the point that I was trying to put across. I had to pay close attention my non-verbal cues because non-verbal cues are not universal. That is, every culture has different way of expressing its non-verbal communication. This means that to pay attention to my facial expression, body movement and posture, gesture, eye contact, space, voice, pay attention to any inconsistency during my communication. In summary and in conclusion, our writing a presentation of how language affects communication, significance of effective verbal communication, the role that Nigeria culture play in effective communication, importance of good listening, and finally, how to minimize barrier to listening. Thank you everyone to watch my video. Have a good evening. Bye bye.